Hernandez's argument is that it's not the brain that contains consciousness, it is the soul that contains consciousness. It is not the brain that animates the body, it is the soul that animates the body. It's not the brain which grounds personhood, it is the soul that grounds personhood. But how does he define the soul?
The soul is an immaterial thing that contains consciousness, animates the body, grounds and unifies my experiences, indivisibility, personhood, identity through change, and free will.
So Hernandez is arguing essentially that the thing which contains consciousness, animates the body, and grounds personhood is the thing which contains consciousness, animates the body, and grounds personhood. What a philosophical breakthrough!
Now let me pause just for a second. People usually misunderstand the argument, and what they usually object is they say, but you're just committing the fallacy of composition. And here's what they mean by that. One red brick weighs 1 pound, then a whole house of red bricks will weigh 1 pound. But that's not at all analogous to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is more like this. Say there is a whole house of red bricks, and in the end you will still get a red house. And simply rearranging the bricks into a different pattern or structure will never give you a different color.
That's a poor analogy. While it is the case that red bricks can't give you a blue house, the molecules which make up the bricks are not, in and of themselves, red. Yet when put together, they can form a brick which has the property of redness. Consciousness is not a property of any single molecule any more than redness is a property of any single molecule. It is a property of activity carried out by molecules. The properties of a pattern need not be embodied by any of the elements which are arranged in that pattern. He seems to believe that consciousness is a property of a thing rather than the property of a pattern of activity.
The first argument is the indivisibility of personhood. 1. A physical object can be divided and come in percentages or degrees. 2. I cannot be divided. I'm an all or nothing kind of thing.
This is actually very questionable. When you look at split brain patients, it seems as though they are, in fact, two distinct people in one body. It does appear to be the case that you can make two persons out of one. Matt Dillahunty mentioned the work of neurologist V.S. Ramachandran. Here's what he says about split brain patients.
One group of patients we have studied is split brain patients or commissurotomy patients. These are people whose corpus callosum has been cut, and anterior commissure and massa intermedia whenever encountered. So essentially you're doing a karate chop right through the head and creating two human beings in one body, in one skull.
Hernandez also says that personhood does not come in degrees. I think this is questionable. He doesn't define personhood, and personhood is distinct from consciousness. Consciousness, I think, can come in degrees. I think a person can have varying degrees of awareness. If you've ever recovered from anesthesia, you know that when you first become conscious, you are not as conscious as you normally are. Your ability to deal with your environment mentally is impaired.
If something is a physical object composed of parts, it does not survive over time as the same object if it comes to have different parts. My body and brain are constantly changing, losing, and gaining new parts. 3, if I am to survive over time, I must be more than my brain and body.
I sort of agree with this. You are not simply your brain and body. Rather, you are a pattern of activity that your brain and body carry out. As Qualia Soup points out, the skin cells that make up your fingerprints completely change several times over the course of your life. But if you take someone's fingerprints at age 20 and they leave prints on a crime scene at age 50, you will still be able to identify them despite the fact that they are made up of an entirely new set of molecules. Does this mean that fingerprints are made of some non-physical substance? No, it means that fingerprints are a pattern in which matter is arranged. Similarly, the fact that the mind retains its identity despite changes in the matter which carries out mental activity does not mean that the mind is made of some non-physical substance.